So, Pranav, we are having
Yeah.
this meeting to understand how was your test and hope you enjoyed it there. And
Yeah.
like a disclaimer, FYI, we are recording this call so that we can later on go through with the recording and understand if we need to, understand about any student's particulars. And I'm having
Yeah.
this call with all of my students to
Yeah.
understand their performance. And this year
Yeah.
exam was a little bit easier comparatively to the last year. Everyone is saying. So some of the students has requested me to go through their choice of selective schools after
Yeah.
we have enough data how everyone has performed. And if you want, we can have that kind of discussion with you also to
Oh,
revisit.
sure.
The idea is like once we have data from or once I have data from all of my students, then I'll be in better position to guide them how to choose the selective schools so that they can get the best for themselves.
Yeah.
And I may use or I will use this video on my YouTube channel. I'll put it there so that other students can go through if they want to and they can get benefit out of it. Because
Mm.
there will be a new batch who will prepare next year, and if they can have that kind of recording or that kind of data for them to prepare, they will have better, understanding how to prepare for exam and what kind of
Yeah.
exams they will, what kind of questions they will expect there, and how to prepare
Yeah.
well. Overall
Yeah.
idea is to help our students of current batch and help our students of future to prepare for this exam
Yeah.
with better resources and more confidence. So
Yeah.
let's start. The first paper was reading, right?
Yeah.
How you felt about that paper? Like whether from the lengthy point of view, whether it was lengthy, time was enough, vocabulary was okay, or what is your
Well,
overview?
the vocabulary was a little bit advanced, and the texts were a little bit lengthy, but I think that I did pretty well in it, and I had time to review.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just a little bit lengthy. They weren't like too lengthy, and the vocabulary words were a bit like, yeah, they were somewhat advanced, but I think I did pretty well in reading.
Okay, super. So there was total 30 questions. What do you
30,
think,
yeah.
like out of these 30 questions, how many questions you're sure about, like they are,
At least
you're very sure that they
20,
are,
at least 24, 25-ish.
let us say 25 to be on the best
Yeah,
side? And what
yeah.
went wrong in other 5 questions? Why you think like these 5 questions are not correct?
Maybe the vocabulary, I mean, actually, no. What I meant is that maybe the, sort of, some of the questions were a bit abstract, so they were somewhat, like, difficult. So, somewhat more difficult, than the other questions. So I might have lost at least 5 marks.
Okay. So when you say like questions were abstract, does it mean answers? There was multiple answers which were very close to each other, and it was difficult to identify.
Yeah, they were pretty difficult to identify. There were quite a lot of questions like that, and I think that this selective test is actually not easier than the previous one is on like the NSW website. I've done it, but I don't believe that it's easier. I believe that it's much harder.
Comparatively to last year?
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's see, in competition, it doesn't matter whether exam is easy or difficult, because
Yeah.
in your percentile score, you are compared with your peers. So if it's a
Yeah.
difficult question, difficult exam, there are very high chance that everyone will perform little bit, on the downside. And if
Yeah.
exam is simple, everyone will try to outperform there. So it's always comparison in the merit in your percentile score. It's not, absolute score. It's just percentile. So that will not make very much difference. Good. So if we talk about these 5 questions, and like from the reading text, they were from your poem side or from your paragraph side, the difficult questions I'm talking about.
So mainly coming from, I guess, the paragraph side, usually the first two texts in the beginning. Not much from the closed passages or the comparing texts in the end or the poem. The poem wasn't too difficult. I believe that the poem there was pretty famous, so quite a lot of people know about it.
Okay.
So I guess it wasn't too difficult.
So poem was not that much difficult. Difficulty was from the paragraph side.
Yeah, paragraph. The paragraphs were they're not extremely difficult, but I might have lost a few marks there.
Okay, that's okay. And then the second paper after reading was what was the next paper?
Math. Yeah.
Math.
Math.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in maths there was 35 questions total, right?
Yes.
So overall, how many questions you think you are sure that you have answered correctly?
Maybe like 29, 30 ish.
29 out of 35. Okay. And what about the other 6 questions there? You could not answer because time was not enough, or it was difficult?
Probably. And some of the questions were slightly difficult, but the remaining questions in mathematics weren't extremely difficult.
These 6 questions were extremely difficult, you mean to say?
Yeah, there were at least 2.
And these 6 questions were from which topic, if you remember?
From which topic? I cannot remember.
Like from algebra or from geometry or from core mathematics?
I think some of them may be from geometry, I believe.
Okay. Difficult 6 questions. 1 second. I'm making notes, right?
Yeah.
So do you remember any questions out of these 6 questions?
No.
So, and from out of these 29 questions which you answered correctly, do you remember any question there?
No.
I'm not asking for complete text. I'm not going to write the complete text. But what I'm trying to understand is, like, if any something is there in your memory. I'm not asking for complete text. Don't worry about that.
No, I don't have. Actually, the first question was it wasn't like too difficult, but it was a money question, but I can't really remember it.
Okay. And what you think, like, when you start from question number 1 to question number 35, complexity was increasing or complexity was random?
It was mainly just random. Question 1, the first few questions were like extremely easy. But then in the middle it just got hard. Then after that it just got random.
Random, okay.
Then I think it just fell down. Actually no, it didn't fall down. It sort of went up. Then it just became sort of random, I guess.
So if we divide entire mathematics in 4 categories. One is the core maths, having fraction and LCM, subtraction, addition, these all things. Then algebra, then data, like where you analyze the data and you do probability questions, and then the fourth one is geometry. Any particular topic you really enjoyed there, or you faced difficulty?
Probably just regular mathematics and maybe the data as well. The algebra was, I don't really remember much of the algebra questions, nor do I remember the geometry, and I can't really remember much of the basic maths and the what's the other one? The
probability.
Data. The data probability. I can't really remember them, but I think I like those ones the most.
Good, super. So 29 out of 30 and other 6. Thanks for letting me know. And then the third paper was?
The third paper?
Yeah.
Thinking skills. Oh, that was actually pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I think I'll score at least. I think I'll score like a 32, 33-ish. It was a pretty hard paper. I'm not sure if I'll score anything above or something. It was pretty difficult. So
So when you say it was pretty difficult, questions was like different kind of comparatively to the previous year, or like questions
oh
was
yeah,
lengthy, difficult to deduct, or
yeah, there was some more lengthy, some were just like pretty hard, I guess, and some were pretty straightforward, but it was almost as hard as like the as one of the pre-uni papers, but just a little easier.
mhm.
But yeah, that's what I thought for thinking skills.
So out of 40, 32, are you sure that 32 are correct, or have you
Maybe reduce it by 1 mark, 31.
31? Okay. And what you did about other questions, you guessed or you didn't attempt it at all?
Oh, I guess some. I guess some of the difficult questions.
That's good.
Some questions were like extremely difficult.
Hmm.
Well, not extremely, somewhat difficult, and I was running out of time because the questions were pretty lengthy.
Hmm.
So I needed to guess a few, but I could answer for every single test. I could answer all the questions, but the thinking skills I needed to guess a few, and for maths I needed to guess like maybe like 3, 4. The last two at the end, and maybe two somewhat difficult questions because I was sort of running out of time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
See, we should always, if we are not able to answer, we should, attempt the question to the best guess, and
Yeah.
you may get a correct answer there because there is no negative marking. That's
Yeah.
that's a really good strategy. And the last part was writing.
Yeah.
How you feel about your writing? Have you covered all the points there which they ask for? And how was your introduction and conclusion part?
Oh, writing was pretty straightforward. It wasn't too difficult. I think I'm out of 25 for writing. I'm at least gonna get like a 20 to 23.
So have you covered all the points which they ask for in
Yeah,
that paragraph?
all the points. It was a newspaper report about some wild animals going on the loose.
Hmm.
Again, I didn't find it too difficult.
So,
Yeah.
so would you like to explain what all the things you covered in that writing, in writing that newspaper report?
I remember covering about the where the animals came from and all that. Then I remembered people's reactions.
Hmm.
Then I think I remember covering the impact, how roads were had roadblocks on them, and or how they were like how they were I guess crowding the roads and many cars had to stop.
Hmm.
Then the third one, it was about like how this issue was solved
Hmm.
and how the police and the animal control came and got them.
Hmm.
And then I also made an introduction and conclusion as well.
That's good. And what about the length of your text?
Oh, I think I did in terms of length. I did pretty well. I completed the first page and I was pretty close to completing the second page.
That's good.
So,
Super.
yeah.
That's really awesome. So that's it. And the final part of this discussion is your selective school list, which you have currently opted for.
Yeah.
What is your first choice there?
First choice is Sydney Boys.
Sydney boys.
Sydney
Second choice?
Boys, Norman. Actually,
Yeah.
hi, this
Yeah.
is
Hi.
Vinny. I'm
Hi,
Pranav.
Vinny.
Hi. Yeah. So actually, initially, when we applied, we put our first choice as Balcombe Hills,
Mm-hmm.
then Sydney Boys, and then Hurlstone Agricultural.
Mm-hmm.
Hurlstone Agricultural because it is close to where we stay.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are thinking of changing, given his performance overall.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I think Sydney Boys is something that is practical for him.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney Boys and Normanhurst also is good, I think. Normanhurst and Hurlstone. These three we are considering. Sydney Boys, Normanhurst, and Hurlstone. But Sydney Boys and Normanhurst are in the same range,
Yeah. And the
So,
third one is your which agriculture? Sorry.
Hurlstone Agricultural.
Oh.
Hurlstone.
Yeah.
H-U-L-H-U-R-L.
Yeah. So at this stage, I'm collecting data from all of my students. And when we talk to our students, when the way they explain their experience with the test, how they perform there, how many questions they are sure about, it gives a lot of data to us. And when merit is always about comparing with peers. It's a percentile score. So once I have data from all of my students, then I will come back to you, and then I will be able to tell you, like, comparatively to others, how is Pranav's performance, and then it's up to you if you want to revise your selective school list or not. See, what I see from my past experience, a lot of students has always chosen the first, all of their three choices they made from top 10 schools, and they missed the selective school just with little margin there. If the first choice is second school, and the third school, and then top ninth school, but they missed the top ninth school with little margin. If they have opted for the top 15th school, they would have got into the selective school. So my idea is to avoid any of these things happening with my students, so that they get at least whatever the best possible selective school for them. Being a parent and being a teacher, I always want my every student to get selection in the topmost school, but that is not practical, right? So that's where this data will help us.
Yeah,
I really appreciate. Yeah, go ahead.
Sydney Boys earlier it used to be in top 10, but now I think it is around 14 ranking.
Yeah,
Sydney Boys.
Yeah, rank is changing very fast comparatively since last 3-4 years. The rank is changing very fast. So we will go through. Let me collect the data from other students, and I have taken a good report from Pranav, and then next week I think we can have another 10-15 minute discussion, and probably that will be helpful.
Correct. So basically, more than ranking, because I would want him to get into a school that is mostly focusing on overall development rather than just on academics.
That's right. That's important.
So Balcom Hills, James Rose is all mainly academics focused. Sydney Boys, I think, is more like a balanced approach. Yeah. That is something that I would like him to get into. That's the reason I'm not really bothered about the ranking per se. It's about the overall school experience. Like even Balcom Hills, I went and physically saw the school. I mean, maybe academically it is very good, but the school appears very rundown. Like the net experience kids take from that, the building is very rundown, very old. They're not even remodeling it and all. So in a very small area, I don't think they even have a proper good and big enough playground also.
Yeah, overall development matters. That's very important part. The way life is changing and priorities are changing, overall development is very, very important. Okay, I have to catch up another students. My apologies. The discussion with previous students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, and I will come back to you. We can have another discussion next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.